Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy back with a brand new top 10 list. Yes, it's been quite a while since my last one. I think the last one I did was in February. Jeez, it's been that long. And I just been in the mood to make another one of these. I've been itching to do a top 10 video, and so here we are. And for this top 10 video, I'll be counting down the top 10 weirdest anime that I have personally seen over the years, as suggested to me by one of my subscribers, Alex Foster. And as the title clearly states, these are the anime that I have found strange for one reason or another. Whether it be the bizarre choices that their stories make, or the outrageous nature of their characters, you can bet that all the anime that are featured on this list have made me say, what the fuck? At one time, or even multiple times throughout their series. But before we get to the list, I do have a couple honorable mentions, and here they are. Nyankoi, Assassination Classroom, Ghost Stories, the English dub, and finally, Nichijou! And without further ado, let's get weird. Landing at the number 10 spot, we have Urusei Yacht Sora. Now this choice is probably the tamest of the bunch, as throughout its run, it mostly sticks to its rom-com premise. But don't be fooled! This anime is more than just your typical rom-com fare. What puts Urusei Yacht Sora on this list is not only for its unusual characters, ranging from an alien that can turn into an overgrown tiger to this weird fish-looking character that shows up in almost every episode, but mostly for its bizarre and out-of-left-field story choices. Now, most of the time, the anime will present us with the conventional rom-com story. You know, characters interacting with each other, some comedic misunderstandings, a lot of lovey-dovey scenes, you know, the usual fare that we come to expect from an anime like this. But other times, they will tell stories that veer into the supernatural with literal demons dancing on a dance floor to some sci-fi epics where they travel across the universe, landing on distant planets and meeting weirder and bizarrer creatures and characters than the ones I mentioned previously. And even weirder are these out-of-place heavy war dramas. Like, there's this one episode, and I shit you not, guys, where the characters are in this really heavy war situation that just kind of happens and then it ends and it's never brought up again. Like, seriously, the fuck was that? Urusei Yacht Sora is without question one of my favorite anime of all time. I truly adore it. But I won't deny that sometimes it left me completely baffled and dumbfounded with some of the choices that they made with the story, and I was just scratching my head in confusion like, what is happening on screen? Am I still watching a romantic comedy, or is this something else now? Annoying its way to the number 9 spot is Polyphony Dash. Yet another anime that's somewhat similar to Urusei Yacht Sora that completely threw me off with its outrageous characters and story choices. I mean, the anime centers around an 11-year-old, you heard me right, an 11-year-old girl teaching a bunch of high schoolers and the crazy shit that they get into in the process. There are aliens that observe this 11-year-old teacher from space, a depressed bunny that is apparently in love with one of the students, and a cat named Lord Cat that likes to stay inside of vending machines and warm drinks to body temperature. What? And that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the weirdness that is Polyphony Dash. There is a lot more to delve into, but I don't want to ruin it all, as I do find the anime rather entertaining, except for one character. There's one character in the show that I cannot stand. I've mentioned her many a times in other videos, and I don't want to talk about her again. But overall, as much as Polyphony Dash is bizarre and weird, it's very entertaining, and you guys should go check it out. Doesn't change the fact that it deserves to be on this list. Teaching us some secret ninja techniques at the number 8 spot is Ninja Nonsense. A group of zany ninjas who all mostly look the same besides one girl whose headmaster is a flying, talking, transforming yellowhead voiced by Goku himself. Yeah, I think I made my point. With Ninja Nonsense, I could never get a full grasp on what was going to come next in the show. It constantly kept me guessing and surprised me each and every time. And for a show that centers around ninjas, There's very little ninjing that happens in the show. From ninjas performing mundane activities like baseball and cleaning to the over-the-top antics of its various characters, ninja nonsense most definitely lives up to its name. It is nonsensical, but it's so damn fun to watch. Screaming big at the number 7 spot is Shimoneta. Shimoneta's premise is that it's a world where porn and dirty thoughts are forbidden. People are forced to wear these collars that monitor their each and every thought, and if you are caught with a single pornographic material or even think one small dirty thought, you will be thrown in jail. That is not only one of the most peculiar dystopian futures I've ever heard of, but one of the scariest. I mean, what am I gonna do without my porn? Oh, but trust me, the weirdness doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen, as we still have to talk about the characters who perfectly complement the anime story. Like a character who names herself Blue Snow, wears panties on her face and a sheet around her naked body, forms a terrorist group named Socks with the main goal of spreading as much smut and dirtiness around the city as possible, and constantly tells off-color dirty jokes to the male protagonists. Not weird enough, you say? Okay, well how about this one female character who starts off relatively normal at first, but after episode 3 completely snaps and becomes psychotic and all goo-goo eyes for the male lead and constantly tries to make him drink her love nectar. And to add the little cherry on top of this weird and bizarre milkshake, we have a girl character in this anime whose head is literally shaped like and acts like a penis. I'm not shitting you guys. I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. It's a real thing. Her head is shaped like a penis. And it's not like shaped like a penis for just comedic effect, like sometimes her head will just turn into the shape of a penis. No, throughout the entire anime, it is constantly in the shape of a penis. And whenever she gets aroused, she goes stiff and hard like a penis. To wrap it up both literally and figuratively, if an anime can make me do this, then I think it's safe to say that the anime is pretty weird. Dancing its way to the number 6 spot is Princess Tootie. Okay, stop me if you heard this one before. A girl named Duck enters a ballet school only to discover that she's a character in a story, is apparently a magical girl ballerina who defeats her enemies through the power of ballet, and to top it all off, is actually a duck. No? Never heard that one before? Me neither. Now I'll give the anime props for its originality, but damn, is that a weird ass premise. And the characters are equally as weird. I mean, besides our little ducky ballerina, we also have a dancing instructor who's a cat that threatens his students with marriage whenever they get too rowdy. Like if they're getting too noisy, he's like, if you guys don't settle down, I'm gonna force you to marry me. And that shuts them up completely. And some of the adversaries that Duck faces in the series, at least for the first 8 episodes that I saw, were also weird. Like one of her opponents was a dancing anteater who felt empty in her life, and I just was scratching my head like, the fuck? A dancing? Well, I mean, okay, if we have a character that is a duck that becomes a ballerina, I mean, I guess I can buy an anteater as a ballerina, but I mean, that was just so damn bizarre. An anteater as a ballerina? What? I wasn't able to fully finish this anime. I only saw the first 8 episodes, but I do plan to finish it. I promise, guys, I'm getting to it. But from what I've seen so far in the series, it's more than deserving to be on this list. And I have a sneaking suspicion that once I start watching it again, it's just gonna get weirder. Lunacy in the visual form is my number 5 choice. Fukui. Do I even need to explain why this anime is on the list? I mean, just listen to its name, Fukui. A name that literally doesn't mean anything. It was just a random phrase that the creators came up with for the anime because they thought it sounded cool. But that is not the end to this crazy roller coaster ride we know as Fukui, as we also got animation that goes from anime style to manga style to freaking South Park style. We got an alien who's the anime equivalent to a Looney Tunes character, a boy who occasionally has robots shaped as hands pop out of his head, and speaking of which, robots shaped as hands for some reason that attack Haruka the alien cause the plot demands it. And oh, the plot that is all over the place and leads to nothing, honestly. And yet, with all that said, Fukui was still one hell of a fun ride through and through. Didn't matter that it didn't make much sense, it leaves a lasting impression on you, and that is what a weird anime should do. Making me wanna puke! At the number 4 spot is Pupa. Ugh. On the other spectrum, we have Pupa, an anime that also had a plot that was nonsensical and all over the place, only this time around it was completely unintentional. And unlike Fukui, it wasn't fun, it wasn't unique, it wasn't creative, and they were actually trying to tell a serious and competent story. Well, they completely failed in that regard. To this very day, I still don't know what the fuck was going on in this anime. If anyone does know, please don't tell me, because I honestly don't care. I don't want to know. I don't want to think about this shitty anime ever again. So what exactly makes Pupa such a weird anime? Well, as mentioned moments ago, the incoherent story about a brother and sister who apparently have superpowers, which isn't really fully explained. Like, the sister is a zombie and the brother is a healer. No matter what damage is done to him, he always regenerates and heals himself. And these people are trying to find them so that they can take them and experiment on them, and I don't fucking know. But the coup de grace, biggest reason as to why I placed Pupa on this list is for an entire episode where the little sister, who remember is a zombie, starts eating the flesh off of her brother in gruesome detail. That episode was hands down the most creepiest and revolting thing I've ever seen in an anime. And it will haunt me for all eternity. It will never leave my mind. I'll never forget that moment. I'll never forget where I was when I saw that. It's something I hope no one else has to witness. Pupa is one of a handful of anime to make me say, what the fuck? In every single episode. Speaking of revolting things, number 3, Aiken. Have you ever wanted to see an anime where a majority of the female characters have disproportionately large breasts, including the lolly character, and revolves around placing characters in these awkward, untitillating sexual situations? Well, I have just the anime for you, you sick fuck! Without question, the weirdest and absolute worst ecchi anime I've had the misfortune of seeing. And that is saying a lot. I have seen many a weird and terrible ecchi anime over the years, but none come quite close to the alpha and omega of dog shit that is Aiken. This is yet another choice on this list that speaks for itself. I don't need to even explain why I placed it on the list. You've seen the pictures of this anime. You probably have seen my review of this shitty anime and saw the clips in that review, or even clips on YouTube of this abomination. No words could fully convey the living hell that is Aiken. I mean, seriously, guys. You got girls in this anime whose breasts are so damn huge that they lose any sort of appeal to them. They're no longer sexy looking or even attractive. They just come off as disgusting and a huge turnoff. You have situations that are focused on placing characters in these awkward sexual situations primarily to show as much TNA as possible rather than telling a fun and interesting story, and a girl character that is constantly shoving phallic objects down her goddamn throat every time she is on screen. And one of the creepiest lolis I've ever seen in an anime. In fact, no, scratch that, not one of, the creepiest loli I've ever seen in an anime. In fact, I'll end this segment by playing a clip of her running. You freaked out yet? Being the undisputed king of anime parody is my number 2 choice. Say what? Come on now. Who didn't see this one coming? You all knew this was gonna be on the list. I mean, how could it not be? It's arguably one of the most well-known weird anime in the anime community, and also one of the most popular. And for good reason. It's non-stop, balls to the walls insanity, and I loved every goddamn minute of it. This anime is basically a hodgepodge of all the previous choices mentioned so far on this list. You take the dystopian future of Shimoneta, the random chaos of Polyphony Dash, Ninja Nonsense, and Fukui, the crazy and bizarre battles of Princess Tutu, but funnier, the out of left field story choices of Urusei Yacht Sora, and finally, the zany, wacky, over the top characters from all of the above, and bam! You got Bobobo. I mean, just listen to the story of this anime, as if you don't already know what it is. It takes place in a world ruled by a man who's seriously called Sir Bold IV, aka Matthew Santoro, whose mandate forbids anyone in his kingdom from having hair because he can't grow any hair himself. So if he can't have any hair, nobody can. Such a petty ruler right there. And it follows this hero with a blonde afro named Bobobo-bobo-bobo who defeats his enemies, aka the hair hunters, who are forcibly trying to cut his hair or at least make it look less ridiculous by using a secret technique called Fist of the Nose Hair, which is exactly what it sounds like. Oh, and how could I possibly forget Bobobo's eccentric and equally outlandish team, consisting of a sun-shaped whatchamacallit, a Gumby ripoff, a flatulent teen, Mr. Soft Serve, the Doughboy's retarded cousin, and a pink-haired beauty named Beauty. And that's not even half of the shit that transpires in Bobobo-bobo-bobo. If I were to go into great detail on what this show throws at you when it comes to the bizarreness and weirdness of it, we could be here all day. That's just how much weirdness is in Bobobo-bobo-bobo. I mean, one minute they're fighting an enemy, and then at a drop of a hat, it just switches into this comedy bit where the characters are just having these funny quips back and forth with each other, or Bobo will open up his hair, yes, open up his hair, and something comes out of it, or you like see something inside of it, or maybe the little people on his nose hair are hanging clothes and having a conversation, or we go into Bobo's mind and we get like a little picture show of like a flashback to his life or some ridiculous situation. I can't keep a straight face when talking about this show. It's so bizarre, so ridiculous, but absolutely hilarious. You may not know what will happen next in Bobobo-bobo, but you know with almost absolute certainty that it will be an unforgettable experience. The good kind. And now here we are at the number 1 spot. And I bet a ton of you are shocked to see that Bobobo-bobo-bobo was actually the runner-up on this list instead of actually being number 1. And to be quite honest with you guys, I'm as shocked as you are. I thought it was a surefire bet that Bobobo-bobo-bobo would be number 1 on my list. But then I remembered another anime that was so bizarre, so strange, and so ludicrous that I couldn't even find it in me to finish the anime. It just got so weird that I was like, I can't push on. I cannot finish this anime. It's too weird for me to even handle. And that is saying a lot considering all the other choices on this list. So what anime could it be? What anime is weirder than all the other choices I've mentioned so far and was one that I personally could not even finish? Well, that anime is Midori Days. I'm speechless when it comes to this anime. And you wanna know why? Because it's a story about a delinquent whose right hand turns into a little girl and they fall in love with each other. You heard me right. It's a story about a guy that falls in love with his hand. Insert all the masturbation jokes right here, or at least in the comments. But believe it or not, the weirdest thing about Midori Days, just even weirder than a cute girl becoming somebody's right hand, is that the anime actually takes its concept seriously. It's not played up for laughs. They don't embrace the bizarreness of the situation. They play it as if it is a legit romance, and they try to add a lot of drama in this anime. What the fuck? Once I realized the anime opted to take the serious dramatic route instead of embracing the silliness of its concept and going down the comedy route, I dropped the anime immediately. It just became too much for me to handle. Which in and of itself is such a weird thing for me to say. I mean, let me get this straight. I could handle an anime about girls with oversized breasts who are placed in all of these awkward sexual situations, a world where porn is illegal, a ballerina who just so happens to be a duck, a sister who's a zombie and eats the flesh off of her brother, and a black guy with a golden afro that uses his nose hairs as weapons. But when it comes to an anime about a guy whose right hand turns into a cute girl and they try to take that seriously and tell a serious romantic story, now that's where I draw the line. I wash my hands clean of that. I guess this anime was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. It was so bizarre, so strange, so weird, so outrageous, and the fact that they wanted me to take it seriously was just way too much for me to handle. And I know that this may be a very controversial pick, and many of you might actually enjoy this anime and disagree with what I had to say about it, but for my money on my top 10 list, Midori Days is without question the weirdest anime I have ever seen. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my top 10 list of the weirdest anime that I have seen over the years. And I would love to know what you guys thought about my list. Did you agree with it? Did you disagree with it? Did you feel like I left any weird anime out? And do let me know what is the weirdest, most bizarre anime that you have personally seen. There are so many weird and strange anime out there, and I would love to hear which ones you have seen and what your experience was like watching it. Comment below, let me know, and stay tuned. I got one more top 10 list, or sort of a top 10 list, coming your way, and some anime reviews and movie reviews, so stay tuned for that, including my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Get excited for that, guys. But until those videos come, guys, if you'd like to support the Black Critic Guy just a smidge more, why not donate to my Patreon account? There's a link in the description to it, and if you'd like to send me any fan letters, send it to this P.O. box right up here. And as always, if you'd like to be a part of the Black Critic crew and not miss out on a single awesome top 10 video, please hit that subscribe button below, like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm 21 II, the weird, bizarre, and zany guy known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.
Thunder, thunder. Thunder, 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 thunder.